welcome back. For this video, I thought I would show you how I recorded and edited, well, mostly edited, the Whiteheart Let the Kingdom Come video. Sorry, I've got some gunk in my throat, so hopefully that doesn't ruin this video. I'm going to show you my Logic project. I don't have screenshots of the iPad recording, but you've seen it in some of my other videos. I track at the drum set behind me using a Soundcraft Signature 12 MTK soundboard as my interface, and then into my iPad Air 4 using Audio Evolution, and then I move those files over into Logic and track it all up. So for this project, I actually played it in without video, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks before I finally tracked it for good and recorded it with video. And I spent considerable time trying to work out all the sounds, because this particular song has a very compressed flangey intro on the drums, and then it opens up, then it's got kind of an open sound, and then it goes into a full-on 80s reverb canyon whatever. So I'm going to put my headphones on so I can actually hear this so it doesn't feed back through my microphone. But as you can see, I've got all my tracks here, and some of them look empty, but they actually aren't. Let me zoom back out. There we go. So I actually recorded one kick, one snare, one hi-hats, one of each of the 4 toms, and the 2 overheads. And then I have all these pieces parts from the band. Let me show you this. I'll solo this. I used RX-8. I might have used RX-9. I think it was out by then. RX-9 standard to split apart all the tracks for the band. And then I had to put a few of them back. If you look at this, it actually says drums. Because when it separated it, it got a few of the clicks from the bass. Here, actually, I'll solo this. These aren't drum sounds. They're just the click of the bass. So if you hear these together, and it does get a little weird, kind of flangy when you separate songs like this, because you don't have the original tracks. So there's a little bit of, you can hear a little bit of the original drums pinging here and there. Yeah, I can hear yeah, see, it loses some of its high pitch. There's a little bit of the splashes, but they get buried under what I played on top of them. There you can hear, see? You can hear a little bit of the drums. But when it's all stacked, as you'll hear, it sounds pretty decent. So I brought in, the first thing I wanted to deal with is that sort of, well, there's some splashes. So we've got the overheads. And I don't know if they use hi-hats or a triangle at the beginning. Well, there's a splash, and then he does this little, there it is. And I used the ride for that. And then I didn't want the snare coming through the overheads. So all the toms are gated. If you look down here, like 10 inch, 12 inch, 14, 16, they're all gated. So they only really turn on when I hit them. So basically I have this snare isolated. And it is the regular snare channel. Let me turn all these off. You can hear it. It's an open snare. My head is a little bit dead. I need to probably get a new one. Oh, and there's some reverb on the drum channel. That's pretty much it. And then I don't think I had the noise gate on. There's some EQ. Let me loop this. And then compressor. I don't 'Cause I don't remember what I used Neutron for. 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 I don't Oh, I think it's a Sculptor, yeah. And then Ozone is to try to widen it. And then this is the reverb, so you end up getting... Not perfect, but I didn't have timbales, so what are you going to do? All right, so from there, more overhead stuff. And then it jumps into the main drum part. So all these tracks are all in sync. I just trimmed them. So like if I drag this kick drum out all the way, it would match up to this one. So I just duped the parts, cut them, put them on separate tracks so I could affect them. I'm sure there are different ways to do this. I kind of work by the seat of my pants, so copying a track and modifying that just works better for me. So with the kick, it's still not quite what I wanted. I could not figure out how they got that sound out of the original. So I have a bunch of EQ and then this phase distortion. You can hear the difference. I had a bit crusher on it, but that didn't quite work. And then I've got reverb and then the gate after it. Now, the reverb, you're going to notice I have this Phoenix, what's it called? Phoenix Verb. I was using R4, both from Exponential, and the new update to the Mac OS broke that, so I had to pull it up on an older machine, fire everything up, copy all the settings, and hope it sounded pretty close. So the original song is mixed with R4, and this one's got Phoenix. And I just threw another gate after it, because otherwise you would have this. So it just makes it kind of sound. Gated reverb, whatever. So then we come to the flange snare, because the intro of this song has this, and I worked on this thing. There you can see there's two T-flanger plugin. This is a third-party plugin. I must have gotten these free or at a super discount, because now I think the whole family of this TF thing, they're like $99 for the whole family. And I'm pretty sure I didn't spend that, but another noise gate after it to kind of make it close down. So if I turn off some of this, you can hear it's a basic regular snare. The flange wasn't quite enough, so add another one, and then the Phoenix reverb, and then the gate. And then I've got the hi-hats. There's a little verb on the hi-hats because it's the 80s. And I didn't really, I mean, there is a noise gate, but it really wasn't that big a deal that there was some snare in there. So if we listen to the whole thing at the beginning here, well, you've heard the original, but so not as good as the original, but it's not a half bad effort, I think. Let me scoot along here. If you hear a funny sound, I've got a trackball, a thumb trackball mouse with a scroll wheel, and it kind of makes funny noise. So then it's some, it changes. I didn't script this, obviously. So let's see. It changes sounds here. So you'll notice a couple things. Digi-kick drops out, and I've got both a thump and a click. Now I could have done a side chain thing. Yeah, you can ignore that little solo. It's probably a track number issue. It's probably set to the highest, and it shouldn't be. One of Logic's little glitches. But so I've got the, which is actually probably gated a little too much, and then this, I don't always use the second one, but sometimes I just want a little bit more clickiness in there, and so I crank up both, and it gives it a nice beefy, clicky. Yeah, I'll do both. Listening through my headphones, it sounds a lot more clicky than it does in my big, I've got 8-inch monitors on either side of me. They have a nice low end. Okay. But, so that's the kick. Now this little section is the same snare that I used through the whole song, but it's modified. It's EQ'd completely differently. And then it's got a digital delay, because in the original song you can hear a, well, it's a little wonky right there. But there. Oh, it's something messed up. Let me see. It's not supposed to be that slow. Hang on. Maybe it is. Yeah, it doesn't sound that way when you don't have it soloed. It's supposed to just be a kick, kick, kick. I can't do it with my mouth. I'm kind of being silly. Yeah. And I think I made it made the delay longer than you'd think it should be, because it just fits in with all the music. You got that little kickback. Kick, kick. Yeah. So that's the wide open snare. And then it gets to the end of that. And this is the regular snare with crap tons of Phoenix Verb. Welcome to the 80s. Yeah, the kick is, because of the channel the kick is on, it's doing weird things. Let's see if I can mute it. There we go. Yeah, even though it's gated, I don't have it gated all the way, so you get some of the toms in there. So that is pretty much the same through the rest of it. Hi-hats are pretty much the same. And then we've got the toms. Excuse me. I don't know, I just burped, and I could cut that out, but, you know, let's be real here. Just looking to see if there's one of these tom fills. I bumped the ride cymbal. You can see it in the video. I kind of had this funny look like, oh, what just happened? Totally missed the floor tom. But this one I've got. There it is. Alright, the kick is really getting in the way there for some reason. And I think the snare is coming through the... Yeah, it's coming through the 10 and the 12. I don't have the gate high enough. So this is a good lesson in gate. I think I must have backed them off for some reason. Yep, there we go. There are times, and I could have, I always want to say keyframe because that came from the video side. I could automate the threshold on these. There, now you don't hear, a little bit. Because there are times when the 10-inch tom, the gate was too high and it wouldn't trigger at the beginning of a fill. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Now we don't have any snare. We should just get the toms. And if you hear the buzzing, I didn't realize it was until after I recorded this. I have a couple of wonky mic cables hooked to my mics. The mics are fine. If I unplug the cable and plug it back in, everything's good, but you can hear... Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. Buzzing. Anyway, yeah. Let me scroll along. I think I'll unmute this one. Oh, the other thing you might notice, yeah, I think there's distortion throughout this entire song. It doesn't show up in the levels, but I think it's inside the plugins. I've got some volume issues. But honestly, I didn't want to spend hours and hours and hours. It's not like I was making an album for somebody. It's just a drum cover. But you'll notice at the beginning, the drums are panned pretty far left, almost hard left, because in the original recording, the guitars were all on the right, the drums were on the left. So, you can hear them. And then you can hear them slowly, well, quickly pan to the center here. So the other odds and ends here, I've got some reverb on the drums themselves on the whole thing, even though I know it's kind of redundant. I have verb on each one, but it just kind of gave it an overall feel, so they didn't sound too far off from each other. It sounds so weird without the song, with the rest of the song. And I've run Ozone. So what I tend to do, this is probably overkill, but because I'm honestly still learning every time I do these, I put all the drums on a drum bus, and then I run the master assist on like a loud part of the song, and set it to high, and just let it play on a loop on the loudest part of the song, and I hit next and let it go, and it adjusts. Oh, let me close it. It puts in some EQ and dynamics and a maximizer on the kit, and then I do it again for the whole song. Like I said, it's probably overkill. Does the same thing. And I tweak it a bit, and sometimes if it's coming in too hot, I'll pull back a little. And then I check it, because it's online. I had heard that negative 12 is probably, I'm talking over this, is probably a pretty good level to stay around for internet streaming. Let's go to the end here. So you can see it's there. Yeah. In the headphones I can hear things that sound like distortion. But this song, the original even, is so cranked and in your face that I think it turned out pretty decent. Other than that, yeah, the band, I don't think there's really any much going on. I could have compressed the overheads, but I decided not to. Let me get this kick again. Because the cymbals end up coming in a little quiet, and they're not in the best position right now, so you get a ton of snare. But in the end, it turned out okay, because it just allowed me for the flange snare to crank the flange, but still get a little bit of the regular snare sound. So, let me go back here. So then if I solo the overheads with it, you get a little bit of the crack of the snare still left in there. But that's about it. So from there, I bounce this out, and then I didn't really, well, let me show you this. Let me see. I'll show you Final Cut. So I recorded 4 cameras, and I used Final Cut's multicam, which is pretty cool. It makes me really look forward to, I'm going to hopefully get an M1 Max MacBook Pro soon. This is not my personal machine. My personal is a 2013, late 2013 15-inch, and it is just too slow to handle a ton of stuff. This is an i9 8-core, but even then, doing the multicam, let's see, where are we? Doing the multicam on this just killed it. Come on. I trimmed out a bit because Final Cut was really freaking out. Actually, it's still having issues. So I've got 4 different shots. This is a Canon 5D Mark IV up over the hi-hats with the actual lens that I've got up here, which is a 14 millimeter Sigma. And then this is 5D Mark III, and it was, I don't remember what the lens was on it. It was not a high, it was like a f4, so not super fancy. And then my G85 on a close-up shot with a speed booster on it with a Canon 50mm to give you a super shallow depth of field just for fun. And then the GoPro, which I had to rotate. And then I just cut it using Apple's multicam function and synced it up to the audio, so you get which is pretty neat. Let me see if I can. Yeah, here's all the layers all in sync to each other, and then yeah, the audio is atrocious because it's just the camera mics. Go back up here. I don't know if I can show you this. Hang on. In viewer angles. Yeah, so this is what it does. As you're playing along, I'll quit scrubbing because it's over top of me. As you're playing along, you can switch it as almost like it's a live setting where you just pick your shots, and then when you're done with that, you let me turn off scrubbing. There we go. Audio scrubbing. You can go to each of these and shift the shot back and forth, so you can shift where the cut was to make sure it's kind of on the beat. So as you can see, I did some spots. Yeah. Right on the beat, or I try to. And then I throw my little animated ending on. And that's pretty much that. Oh, I did do color correction on these to try to get them all to match, which is a little weird when you're doing multicam, but they're not too bad. You can see some of the lightness and things are off a little, but it didn't come out too bad. So hopefully that wasn't boring, and you get an idea of what it takes to do one of these, at least one of the more fancy edits. Actually, I can show you throwing it all away is in here. If it loads, this thing's been having issues. Come on. There we go. This one's not, I did not use the multicam for this. I just laid them all on top of each other and then cut. Zoom out. Yeah, in fact, yeah. So I used, let me turn off this, hang on. You can see they're stacked, but then I just cropped them and slid things back and forth. So did a split screen for the intro. Watch closely here when you see the stacked. Then it does another. This one's got, I used my phone and the GoPro and my G85 Lumix. Now you see some of these look cut, but they're the same exact clip. I just didn't, the way it was stacking was annoying, so I just cut them after the transition and let them drop back down on the timeline. Just so I didn't end up with, 6 stacks of weird things. But same idea. Now this one I used a dummy track on the bottom so that I could make sure the audio, I could slide the audio back and forth just to make sure it was in sync. But yeah, that's pretty much what I do for these, and throw the animated ending on it. And that's it. Put any questions in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this, I'd love some suggestions. I'm also trying not to be kind of dull and dragging, but it's just my thought process, because I don't script these, my thought process moves a little slow, and I'm kind of moving through things, trying not to go too fast. But hopefully you enjoyed it, and come back for more. Thanks for watching.